All right, guys, welcome to Tuesday in week 8. This is we got this class, and then tomorrow we're going to practice our presentations or demos, and then Thursday we'll be joined, I think, by a couple of other folks, and we'll just kind of do what we do tomorrow night, but we'll have practiced it a little bit. So Eden and Carol and for Trinity and London, I noticed, I know that you guys had a lot of problems getting Unreal Engine set up. So you do not have to demo a project. That is totally fine. Just put together a few slides, tell about something that you liked in the course, and like what you might want to do later on based on what we have studied here, because we did a lot of stuff. We did not only the blueprints with the code, but we also did a little bit of level design. There's all different kinds of things that you can go into in game development, like this, like obviously level design, texture. Some people work just on like the grass that you see here. A lot of people like to work on animations and character design. Some people like to work on AI. Of course, if you're making your own game as an indie developer with just yourself or a small team, you probably end up doing a lot of those things. So if you work at a bigger company, and there is Trinity, like when I worked at Electronic Arts, you had a whole team that did nothing but textures, for instance, and another team that did nothing but character AI. So with that said, let's open it up for questions and comments again. Anybody have any lingering questions?
I have one.
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
Um, I noticed that on the main menu, when
Hmm.
you click anywhere besides a button,
Hmm.
you like lose control of the mouse.
Okay, that's a good insight. Yeah, so let's take a look at that. So with our level, we'll open up main menu and let's see what happens. So when we press play and we click anywhere, as Mark just said, notice that our mouse cursor has disappeared. So what we need to do, I believe in that case, is let's go to our level blueprint, which again is where all of the code that executes when this particular level opens up. All right. So what we want to do, I believe, is before we add our UI to the screen, right, which is the buttons with the blurry background, I believe we want to go here and look for something called set input mode UI only. And then we need to get the player controller. Okay. And I'll compile and save all. And then we'll try it again. Well, that didn't seem to fix it. Let me take a look real quick. So that is always a good practice to set the input mode to UI only. Maybe we should try to do this here. Let me cut that because I've run into this problem a million times. And we'll paste it here, and maybe we can do it that way. I'm sorry, right here, and then add to viewport. Okay, flush input. Let me see if this works. Okay, save all. Yep, press play. and I'm still getting this. It might be because I'm doing it in a new editor window. No. I'm sorry, rather than go down a rabbit hole, what the key things here are to set the input mode. And I'm not sure why it's working here. There must be something else going on. And what this says is only allow the user to be able to move the mouse and to click on things and not to be able to move around in 3D space. So the opposite of this is to set input mode game only. And what that'll do is only allow you to like use a gamepad, for instance, or it will turn the mouse cursor off in the game. So like when you're looking around and using your mouse to kind of control the camera, that's not going to show the mouse cursor. So this is kind of where we want to look with these two. I'd have to do a little more testing in it, but that is where we would want to look for that. All right, somewhere in there. And if I can figure it out after class, I'll try to do that. All right, what else? What other questions do we have?
Is our official presentation tomorrow or on Thursday?
So tomorrow is going to be more of a practice. It's just going to be for our group, the six, is it six, seven, I guess, including me, the seven of us, and we're just going to present to each other. And then the official one is going to be on Thursday. So if you need a little more time and you're not able to present tomorrow in class, that's absolutely fine. I just thought it would be good practice for everybody to, if you're not all that familiar with Zoom, to see how you use Zoom to share your screen and your sound and all that good stuff.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Mike, you had asked about replacing a character, and I can kind of walk us through a short overview of how we do that. We won't have time to do it completely in class because there are a lot of moving parts to it, but we'll try to get as far as we can, unless anybody else has anything they want to talk about. So right here, our third person character class, which we've gotten real familiar with, is the brains of not only our player character, but since we created children of this blueprint to be AI, this is a very important blueprint in our game. Now let's I'm not sure why this keeps wanting to pop up. Let's take a look over here on the right, and we can see the skeletal mesh asset. So in here, we have like, this is a mesh and this is a mesh. All these are meshes, 3D models, right? But there's a special kind of mesh called a skeletal mesh. And that is a mesh that has a skeleton. So obviously for humanoids, it'll look like a lot like this, but you could also have a dog or a cat in your game that you want to animate, and they would have a skeletal mesh. And what that does is, and I'll show you the skeleton. Okay, so this is our character's skeleton. And as you can see, here's all the bones that they have. If you scroll down, it's a lot of bones. And let me show you how I got to that again. So I went over here to our third person character. And right here, right when you click on the magnifying glass with the folder, it'll take you right to that asset in your content browser. And then I just opened it up. So if for whatever reason I wanted her upper arm to be different, I could just go like that to change it around. And see how it rotates adjacent bones. I'm going to undo that. Okay. And let's go to the thigh. Let's try that. Okay. All right. So that's the skeletal mesh for this character. Now let's go back to our third person character and let's use the male version of this, which is called Manny. M as in Mark, Anny. Okay. So there is Manny, and he needs his animation blueprint. Oops, did I pick the wrong Manny? I think I got a couple of Mannys, different Mannys in here. Okay. So that is man. I'm not sure why he's not textured, but that is the male version. And also I have this female soccer player. Okay, so we're still in the third person, right? Let's see what happens when we press play. So we swap the mesh out. That's pretty easy. And Mike, you might have tried this too and got the result that I'm getting ready to show you.
Oh yeah, I know
Yep.
what's gonna happen.
So, okay, that's fine. Oh, let me turn the music off. Open level blueprint, and we'll just disconnect that right there. Compile, save all. So what happens is this is what we call skating in video game language. See how her legs aren't moving? She is moving, but she is not animating properly. And this is what we call skating. So obviously that's not the desired result. So what you have to do is we have to come up here to animations, or is it in characters? Anims. Unarmed. And okay. This is called an animation blueprint. And this tells the character what to do in different animation states. Okay, so for instance, when we fall or jump, it's going to show us how to get from the falling to the jump and then the the landing part of it. So when we jump up in the air, we actually land. And as you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on here. And this is probably more of a level 2 type course where we're looking specifically at animation. Okay. But you see, it looks a lot like blueprints, right? So this is like speed. This is some true or false logic for movement. So the reason why our character, our soccer player girl or young woman, um, is not uh, what's the word for compatible with this animation blueprint. And I know this gets really confusing, and it is kind of confusing. So what we can try is you can right click on the animation blueprint of the one we know is working, right? That's for our Quinn character. And we can go up here and retarget. And if you look at the tooltip, it says retarget to a different skeleton. Okay. And we do have a different skeleton. It's the soccer player young lady. So we're going to go to retarget. And our source is Quinn. Okay. Our target is going to be soccer player girl. Let's select her. Okay, so it puts them right next to each other. And then we need to figure out what we want to retarget, and we want to kind of retarget all these. There we go. and then we'll click Export Animations. It's always a good practice to put these in a new folder. So we're going to call these Soccer Anims Retarget. There we go. Double click, export. Sometimes this will crash, by the way. Hopefully it's not going to do that for us tonight. And let's see how we did. I've got a lot more animations in my project. That's why this is taking just a little bit longer. All right, so let's take a look at one of these. All right, I'm not sure what looks like she's, oh, this would be like holding a weapon, wouldn't it? Okay. Oh yeah, pistol idle. All right. All right, that's not too bad. Let's see. These are looking okay. If I can find some that we can drag in there. Oh, here's a funny one. Let's drag that in there and play from here. Or so that's kind of cool. She looks all right. Okay. And let's see, we got a couple other ones. Another dance one. Okay, so that's cool, but let's say we want to actually control this player, because you notice when we press play, they still kind of skated around. And I'm going to take some of these out because it's getting a little, yeah, video memory. There we go. And we'll press that, or sorry, P, G, P. Okay, so let's say we actually want to control that character. So let's go back to our third person. And when we created those retargeted animations, it also created a retargeted animation blueprint, right? Which is very important for getting our character to work. So in the retargeting, it tried to make that animation blueprint compatible with this new skeleton, being our soccer player young lady. So let's find that blueprint. Is it this one? Okay. So that was the one it created. I should have given it another name. You never want to just name something that already exists. That's why I get all these kind of things that look like they're the same asset, but they're not, right? Because that one looks like that, and that's not good. And that one looks like that, which is good, the one we want. Okay, so I'll compile and save, and let's just press play. And there we go. And it took me literally probably 15 or 20 times of going through the process we just looked at to get anything like this working. So don't get frustrated, because it does take a while to figure out. And even though this is working, and she could probably, can sprint and jump, but this still isn't perfect, because if I go here, see how she's kind of bent, kind of weird. That means there's additional tweaking to do. And I will say, although Unreal Engine by far is my go-to game design engine, that Unity makes it almost like point and click to swap characters out. So you don't have to go through all those steps, um, but you do have a lot more control in Unreal Engine. And when she jumps, yeah, the jump looks okay, I guess. So, yep, that's how you can swap characters out. And yeah, okay. Go ahead and save up everything here. Let's talk about, does anybody have any questions? Okay. So let's talk about actually building your game, right? Creating a exe file that you can post online or upload somewhere or even share with a friend. Most Unreal Engine games by default are going to be, unless you do some really heavy optimization, they're going to be at least a gigabyte. So if we did our game here that has the main menu and then it comes into the field, that's going to be a 1 gigabyte game, just so you know. So these really nice 3D assets and textures, they do add up in terms of disk space. So keep that in mind. But what you do is you go over to platforms, and let's say we want to build this on Windows, and you just go over here to package project and you select a folder. I'll just keep the default there. And here it's going to show that it's building the project, and it almost never builds correctly on the first go. But there's a couple other things that you need to know before you try that. And that is that you do need to have some additional software installed. First thing you would do is go to your version that you're using and click on here next to the launch to options. So you need to make sure that you have, I believe it comes built in with Windows support, but if you wanted to build it like for a mobile device, you would need to add these other target platforms, and you can see they can get pretty big. So you do need to make sure you do that. And the other thing is, let me see, Visual Studio Installer. And I know we're getting a little bit into the weeds here, but just wanted to let you guys know if you did try to build your game that and had some issues, it's probably because okay, let's see, Visual Studio Community. All right, modify. Visual Studio is free, so you download that. You will need the game development with C++ workload to be able to build an exe file. And I also teach Unity, so that's why I have that one involved there. But yeah, that's the one that you need to have in order to build. So I'll close that down. Close that down. And we can close this down, and we can see that our game is already building. And I believe we covered this. When you go to project settings and maps and modes, here, I'll dock this over here, right? This is going to be the game default map. Yeah, we did cover this, I remember. So in the editor, when we start up, the editor, what we're working with here, we wanted to go to our soccer field because that's where we did all of our work. But the game needs to actually go to the main menu first. So that's very important. Any questions about that?
No question.
Okay. And then if you look, let's see. If we look here on the output log, it's going to look really scary. So you'll see a lot of, you'll see some yellow warnings. That's fine. What you don't want to see is red. That means something bad's happened, and I think I did see a red one there. And usually it'll stop right away if it's like a showstopper. And then you have to go in and you have to figure out what the problem is and fix it. But when this is over, and it's probably not going to be over by the time we finish up here in just a few minutes, it will put your entire game and then a launcher file right there in your project folder. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, let's do a little 2-minute drill. Let's say we wanted to do nighttime stadium. Okay, a couple things. We would go and find our post-process volume. That is just another volume that is invisible, but it has properties, visual effects properties. And we want to change the exposure to, we'll say 6. Okay, really dark, right? All right, so the first thing I would do is go up here and let's create a spotlight. I'm going to copy the location of this asset first, the XYZ. So do you remember how we did that? We go up here and, well, does it combined with something? I guess it is. Let's just do guess it's grouped. Oh, well, we'll just disregard that about copying the location. So I'm going to go and I'm going to add a spotlight. Lights, spotlight, and it's going to be right here. If I press G, I can see which way and how far. It's not really doing anything at the moment. Let's move it kind of over here. And we're going to want to rotate it, right? So that it goes down to the field. Intensity, we're going to make it really intense. Call it about 100. Still not seeing anything yet. That's okay. And we want to source length, increase that. And the source radius, increase that a little bit. And then let's go, and we want to look for the fall off and turn that off. Okay. All right, so our build failed. Kind of thought so when we saw, I know I'm multitasking here, but when I saw that red line, I knew that something was up. Okay. In any case, that's just a basic preview of how you do a build. So let's go back to our spotlight. Okay. And that all looks good. You can just reset that here. And close that. And then the intensity is going to be, there's the radius. Sorry, I got some stuff in the way here. Let me reset that. Set that. And I need this to be lumens actually. So let me try this again. I know we don't have much more time. But the gist of it is that's what you, in fact, I might have one. Let me just go here real quick. I think I did this after class yesterday. Soccer night. Yep. Let's just do that. Okay. So here's how what I was working on looked, but I know we're running out of time. So I have these spotlights here. Okay. And you can see what they're doing. That one, that one, that one. And I just did this real quick. Obviously, there's a huge dark spot right here on the field. Probably want to move that down a little bit like that. But yeah, that's what you would do. You would you get your spotlights, turn your lighting, your regular lighting all the way down, the exposure, and then you can have a nighttime level. All right. We can wrap up here. Anybody have any questions? All right. Well, so tomorrow
I
we'll
imagine I'm gonna have a lot tomorrow.
a lot of questions.
Yeah, just because I'm gonna be playing with this all day tomorrow. I kind of blocked off the whole day.
Oh, okay, cool.
If you could get the video up ASAP, that would really help.
Yep. Yeah, wasn't planning on doing yesterday's just because I thought there wasn't much value to it. But if you thought there was value, I'm happy to do that. So yeah, in fact, I'll get that up here right after we finish. All right, guys, have a great rest of the day. Tomorrow we'll get busy showing off our projects and our um, reflections. See you tomorrow. Bye.
See you.